All right, welcome everyone to tonight's Conservation Commission meeting. For all those that wish to, please stand to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do a little roll call. Brian?
Here.
Joe? Here. Thomas? Here. Bernardo?
Here.
And Amelia
Here.
is here today, and Nicholas Rudolph is here today. Not in attendance is Wilson Carrera. First up is review and approval of last time's minutes. Any additions, changes, comments? Seeing none, I call for a motion to approve last meeting's minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve last meeting's minutes.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. First up is a request for determination, 23 Frank Ave. The demolition and building of garage, asphalt pavement, and putting in grass. This was on the agenda last time, and unfortunately, the legal notices did not go out. This was something that we did approve. I think this is a major improvement to the property, and after discussing it last time, I would call for a motion with all of her paperwork in that we approve this, or have a negative determination of applicability to the Wetland Protection Act.
I make a motion to approve the negative applicability to the Wetlands Protection Act.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Brian. Okay, thank you very much, Katie. I appreciate you being here. Hope everything goes well, and you'll have your paperwork post haste. Next up is a notice of intent, 190 VFW Parkway, DEP file number 0610846. This is the construction of the new high school. Open the hearing. And you have your legal notice that you posted, and everything is proof of abutter notifications you've already
Yes, we provided all of that via email.
Okay, just making sure. And you have the HDMI cord there as well.
Right.
Hey, there we go.
Would you like me to begin? Yes. Okay. Sure. For the record, Claire Hogeboom, wetland scientist with LEC Environmental Consultants, representing the applicant, the City of Revere, for the Revere High School project notice of intent before the Conservation Commission. Joining me are some project team members available to answer questions at the end of the presentation. We have Brian Dakin with Left Field, the owner's project manager, Ty Johnson, one of the landscape architects, along with Emmett Gregory, another landscape architect. We have Christy Lyons with Consigli, the construction manager for the project, and David Conway with Niche Engineering, who will also be presenting briefly on the stormwater components of the project. I will do my best to keep the presentation concise for you all. So just to reorient everybody to the project site, we're talking about the former Wonderland Greyhound Park with VFW Parkway and North Shore Road on the southeastern frontage of the lot. We have the MBTA commuter rail to the west of the property, and the residential neighborhood with Shawmut Street and other roadways to the north of the site. As you can see in the sort of southern portion of the site, the remnant dog racetrack is in that southwestern portion, and some remnant foundations associated with the property remain to the east of that. And a big portion of that southern and eastern portion of the site is still pavement. The commission might recall that we were here before you February, I believe, for phase 1 to demolish the foundations. So that work is currently ongoing. And as you see with the blue and yellow icons in the sort of central portion of the site, that's the Eastern County Ditch, a stormwater ditch that flows in a northeast direction and continues off-site via a number of subsurface culverts and daylit portions. The 2 yellow circles are existing crossings over the Eastern County Ditch. So when I get to the next slide, you'll see how that sort of plays into the proposed project. To the north of that, we have an upland meadow, and along the Eastern County Ditch and that sort of darker portion of vegetation in the aerial image on the left of the screen is bordering vegetated wetland. You can sort of see a breakdown of all the resource areas to the right of the screen. In addition to those delineated wetland resource areas on site, during the ANRAD review process with the commission about this time last year, we determined that the 100-year floodplain extending up to 11 or 12, depending on the elevation of the site, is partially bordering land subject to flooding, or BLSF, which reaches up to elevation 4.55, and between 4.56 and 11 or 12 is land subject to coastal storm flowage. So that blue hue polygon through sort of squiggling around the site is the BLSF boundary, and the hatchwork should be extending through the entire site as land subject to coastal storm flowage. You also see in the image on the right, we have that sort of oval shape of the former dog racetrack that has an isolated wetland within the interior that during the ANRAD review process, the commission determined to protect that under the ordinance. So that has a 100-foot buffer zone associated with that as well. So on to the proposed project here. As you see, VFW Parkway and North Shore Road and Butler Circle have all sort of shifted to the bottom of the screen, so north is sort of in the right direction of the screen. You see the big white building sort of in plan left or in the southern portion of the site. That is a podium-style building for the school. It's going to serve grades 9 through 12. Beneath the building is at-grade parking lot with a base elevation of 4, and the first floor elevation above that garage is going to be elevation 19, so that's about 7 feet above the current 100-year floodplain, and that's in an effort to have that first floor elevation above the floodplain and also allow floodwaters to flow beneath the school building during a 100-year flood event. As you can see from VFW Parkway and North Shore Road, we have 2 proposed site entrances that are at the existing traffic lights at both of those roadways. The internal driveways loop throughout the site, providing access to the school, and a series of surface parking lots. The parking lot to sort of the right of the school, between the school and that athletic field, has electric vehicle charging stations. The parking lot to the left as well, or in the southern portion of the site, has additional electric vehicle charging stations. There are also more proposed in the garage underneath the school, with a total of 69 being proposed, or 69 spots being accommodated for EV charging. The southern portion of the site, or plan left, has 5 proposed tennis courts. And then as you see plan right, or in the northeastern portion of the site, we have 2 proposed multi-use synthetic athletic fields. Those are proposed with subsurface drainage that Dave will speak to a little bit when he discusses the stormwater. The synthetic turf field 1 has geothermal wells proposed beneath it to provide heating and cooling for the school building as well. On the west side of the Eastern County Ditch, or Plan North there, you see on the right side of that, there's a compensatory storage area proposed. That's also a natural outdoor classroom. That's where the upland meadow is located. That's going to be regraded for sort of 2 combined purposes. One, to serve for compensatory storage for the fill that's going on the site to compensate for the bordering land subject to flooding. And there's also walking paths and boardwalks throughout for passive recreation and a really robust planting plan to increase the vegetative diversity in that portion of the site. From Dunn Road, lastly, you see that there's sort of two paved extensions coming off of Dunn Road. There's the emergency vehicles only access, which is not going to be commonly used for emergency vehicles. It's really utilizing that southern existing crossing over the Eastern County ditch only in the event of an emergency when the two main access points are not available. The other crossing proposed over the northeastern county ditch crossing is a pedestrian only. So that's going to be a 15-foot wide path to allow residents of the neighborhood to the north or students or anybody to have foot traffic and access to the site. One last point I want to touch on that's not necessarily clear on this plan, but where you see the emergency vehicles only extension from Dunn Road where it turns over the Eastern County ditch, there's an existing gravel laydown area between the Eastern County ditch and the MBTA tracks. And during the team's due diligence over the last few years, we discovered there's a release tracking number for contaminants in the groundwater there. So during construction, that will also be remediated to have no environmental impact following the completion of construction. Just wanted to give an example of one of the plan sheets. This is a courtyard proposed sort of to the rear of the school. You see the school building outlined in red, and the southern or like bottom of that portion of the school is where all the classrooms are. It's sort of the extension wings of the school building. And on the north side is the, I believe, the gymnasium. So between that, there's a nice courtyard with a lot of plantings that I sort of highlighted in that green polygon color. So I just wanted to give the commission members and any viewers a feel for sort of the level of revegetation that we're proposing at this site. Additionally, this is the natural outdoor classroom that I pointed out on the plan on the opposite side of the Eastern County ditch from the athletic fields. Some of the notable features that I wanted to point out was sort of the bottom left image is pointing to one of the boardwalks that's proposed. That's 6 foot wide that crosses over some of the lower lying grades of this compensatory storage area. And there's about 2 more of those proposed, the boardwalks, to allow for floodwaters essentially would enter and recede from this compensatory flood storage area from the Eastern County ditch beneath the boardwalks. We also have the walking paths, again, 6 foot wide, and they are going to be comprised of this sort of composite sand that will adhere to itself. So in a flooding event, it would not dissipate or spread out. And it would still also function as a pervious area. So it's sort of a good balance for environmental protection there. And then lastly, a bit of wildlife mitigation that's provided. The image on the bottom right with the arrow pointing to sort of the deepest pocket of this compensatory storage area is a proposed osprey nest that will be constructed in there. So sort of adds wildlife value, educational value, and just overall passive recreation for folks coming to bird. With that, I'm going to pass the stormwater discussion over to Dave for a moment.
Thank you, Claire. My name is David Conway. I'm a civil engineer for Niche Engineering in Boston. I'm presenting tonight, but I'm part of a team of about 7 of us engineers at Niche who've worked on this to pull together and put together the documentation, the calculations, and the plans to get this on the civil side of this project, along with Claire's team for permitting, the landscape architectural teams, working in conjunction to kind of make this all happen. Claire has mentioned several times for me to be brief. I'm going to talk about the stormwater. I'm going to do it in a somewhat narrative form. The materials that you provided, the stormwater report's over 400 pages. In the beginning, we have very detailed discussion about how we're meeting each stormwater standard in addition to the stormwater form itself, where you're just checking boxes, but we also have a narrative that goes through that. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more holistically, and you can be free for any questions you want. But the big move that was made very early so that we could ensure that we got the school that the city would be proud of and would like, and be a healthy school, and that we would also meet all these regulatory requirements for stormwater and the other resource areas, is by greening the site. The site has a lot of pavement on it right now. We are reducing the amount of impervious on this site by 6.5 acres. Just doing that, we're gonna improve the stormwater rates coming off the site. We're gonna improve greatly the recharge of water going into the site, reduce the volume of stormwater coming off the site. So that was, and that's a big move that I do a lot of schools. I've probably, and it sounds like an exaggeration, I've done over 200 schools in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts since 1992 when I started doing this. This will be one of the greenest schools we've done, and we did that by very early on deciding to make some big moves with the parking over the school and things like that. And I'm going to talk a little bit, and again, we can have questions about the treatment train and stormwater itself, because that's something else we're very proud of on site. But it was a very holistic, a lot of thought very early on basically reducing the impervious on the site to get us what we needed. And then basically fighting that fight every day as we design it to make sure like additional parking lots don't suddenly pop up where we have been planning to have outdoor learning areas, courtyards. What's the garden? The learning garden. Those types of features. Stormwater-wise, we're meeting our quality commitments through a variety of treatment trains. The site varies. The design proposed site will vary. The TSS removal rates are going to range from 87 to 90%. Generally, that's going to be done by capturing the stormwater, either in a catch basin or Filterra units, or a water quality swales, depending on where we are on site, and then pushing that through additional treatment, water quality units, additional Filterra units, which are kind of a proprietary type of unit, which is great for where you don't have a lot of separation in elevation, where you can, and it's also somewhat of it's a nice feature because the water goes into basically a filter box that gets planted. So you get like filtering action there, you get water uptake from the plants. There's some pre-treatment that comes out through that too. And then also like water quality swales as we get down like closer to like the Eastern County ditch, and have like a more softer stormwater approach. Again, the report that you have in front of you, you can go through it when we have ticked off all the 10 boxes as far as how we're meeting our stormwater commitments. It's a redevelopment, but we are meeting all, which gives you some latitude in what you have to meet, but we are meeting all the requirements, even if it wasn't a redevelopment. During construction, it's also part of the materials that we submitted. There's a pollution prevention plan, SWIP, as part of like the early site work. We're actually already working under a NOI from the EPA. So, the SWIP that we prepared for that work evolves into this work, and it gives the requirements for the operation and commitments that we need to make during construction. Is prepared for the latest, under the latest guidance from the EPA region. Again, we can kind of go into that if you have questions, but right now, an earlier version of that, the site's working under well. Operation and maintenance plan, we provided some additional information. I pulled that back out. We had some questions on the site walk about it. I didn't want people having to dig it out of a 400-page document, so we pulled that back out. I modified it. We heard some concerns about salt use on the site, so we precluded the use of sodium chloride as a de-icer on the site in response to that. And then, the last box is the illicit discharge permit. I promised Claire I wasn't going to start pointing out different catch basins and what's going on. I'm happy to do that, and that we can have questions after or now during. But it's really just, I guess my part is, it's a large project. It's a project we're thrilled to be with, and it's we put a lot of thought and care into preparing the plans and calculations, with the biggest step being some decisions the city made early on as far as what we can do with the program and how we can make the site really green and work for the city. So.
Hi, I'm concerned about the parking areas adjacent to the Eastern County ditch.
Yep, the ones closest.
Yeah, on the other side of the fields.
Yes.
Could you go over what, are they going to empty into the Eastern County ditch eventually?
Eventually.
That water?
So eventually, everything on this site goes into the Eastern County ditch, right? So that's where all the drainage from the site goes now, and that's where it'll go in the future. So we're going to treat, first we're going to reduce that runoff, and we're also going to treat that. So if we're looking at the triangularly shaped parking lot at the top, in between the two fields, that's the one that's closest to the ditch. And it's also
Yeah,
at
and
the lowest.
there's one other one, a little bit, I can't think of the direction.
Say plan left, right?
Southwest,
Like
yeah.
you move along the street. The triangularly one is at the lowest elevation. That one, the part closest to the field has catch basins that collect the water and then put that through the Filterra units themselves. And then that's tied into the culvert that discharges into the ditch. The last row of parking, so the row of parking closest to the Eastern County ditch itself, has a P, so that water will go through curb breaks, and that parking is pulled back from the ditch a little bit so that we can have treatment between the ditch and the parking. And that treatment train is a P diagram to kind of act as a larger scale. And this is only for the last row of parking, really the last set of cars, because the elevation gets that much closer. The P diagram to kind of filter out larger particles, then a dry water quality swale that will filter out lower particles. That swale has subdrains, and it's kind of like a constructed profile that can draw down that water, filter it down through the medium, and discharge it into the head walls. So we get our treatment, through a filtering action, really kind of like two filtering, like a coarse filtering action in the P diagram, and then a finer filtering action through the water quality swale itself. The parking as we move to the left, plan west, it's generally the Filterras are doing most of the work there. So those are the structures that, and we can provide some cuts on them, but they're also detailed on the plan. Where the stormwater enters into the unit, it's filtered down. It's basically a box with filter material that has overflows and then planting material in it as well. So that provides a lot of treatment, more treatment than like a typical, I talked about we have TSS removal from 84 to 90%. The Filterra is the ones that are basically the treatment trains that are for the pavement closest to these areas are getting that higher treatment because of the Filterras and because the water quality swales and the enhanced filtration. So that line is kind of like is where we're holding the wall, and we're doing it through a variety of different methods. As we move kind of away from the Eastern County ditch and we pick up elevation, that becomes somewhat more of what you'd consider a conventional system with the deep sunk catch basins going to water quality units. The sites because of the number of calculated trips that you would see on the site classifies as a loophole. Land use with higher pollution prevention. Well, land use with higher pollution prevention level. So our water, we have higher standards to meet for the stormwater. And that's been, that's what we've designed to on this. That's a little bit of a narrative of what's going on. Again, I can maybe get into some more specifics, or we can come back to some others.
The other thing, that answers to some extent the quality of what's going into the ditch. My other concern is, but I have a quick question to ask, which way is the ditch flowing? Okay, my other question is, first of all, was there any thought to enclosing that in some sort of a culvert so there wouldn't be access?
Claire would shoot me.
Well,
just-
the reason, let me tell
Yeah.
you what I'm getting at here. My concern is that there won't be accessibility and the possibility of that clogging up. If that clogs up anywhere down the line, the drainage for the whole area is going to be encumbered.
Right, so that's part of the ongoing after construction operations and maintenance plan, is basically inspections and maintenance of these things to keep the additional sediments from getting into the Eastern County ditch and causing those problems. Now, I did make light about, covering, the suggestion of covering the Eastern County ditch. The Eastern County ditch is a fairly important resource to a lot of folks. So I know if you go out there and you look at it, it doesn't scream like, Rumney Marsh. It doesn't scream like, like this beautiful waterway. But we're treating it like it is. And we're not dismissing it in any way because of what's currently there, right? Under the regs, it's a resource as important as any. And we hope in the future that with the work we're doing here, that it kind of maybe can recapture, even outside of doing anything additional, recapture some actual real resource area value.
Unfortunately, I've been on this commission a while, and I've lived in the city all my life, and I'll tell you right now, if you don't make that easy to access and maintain, there's going to be a problem there. And that's what I'm concerned. That's why I mentioned either about an enclosed culvert or a concrete lined one, or something that would make accessibility and ease of cleaning.
Yeah, so we're kind of doing.
By the way, whose jurisdiction would that be
Jurisdiction?
for maintenance?
It seems to be everyone's.
Yeah, so I could talk a bit to that too. I think to what Dave was sort of getting at with sort of the regulatory component of that is enclosing or culverting a ditch that is already daylit like that. It's jurisdictional as a perennial stream, so generally it would not be allowable from a regulatory standpoint to begin with, but it is also functioning as a resource area that should remain open. And when it comes to maintenance of the stormwater features, I think that's something that from the edge of the ditch should be able to be accommodated. But yes, from a permitting standpoint, not only the Wetlands Protection Act, but there would be a number of state and federal agencies that probably would be a very thick wall to accomplish something like that.
So just two quick things. One, first thing is not everyone understands what the Conservation Commission does, but for those watching and learning new things about the high school, we go and we visit these sites as a commission, and we're able to see what they look like before, to be able to give our inputs to make sure that things are done correctly, obviously, instead of just laying eyes on a site, we've seen it. And one of the things that you spoke about that I just want to emphasize is the amount of concrete that was on this site when we toured it it's mostly a concrete site. So you can't really see that from these photos because you don't have like current photos of what it looks like. So for anyone that is watching this, just kind of trying to get an idea of how much better it's going to be as far as for drainage, as far as for everything. They're currently removing the concrete, I believe, as I go to the post office every day and I hear it and I see the trucks removing God knows how many truckloads of that stuff. I just want you to, for anyone that is watching this and is wondering about water and all of that, because that's important to us, what they're doing by removing all of that concrete, of which there's an immeasurable amount, will help with every aspect of this. And as you said, there was so much of it. So I just want to make sure that people are aware that as a commission, we're going and we're looking at these things, not just as what it's going to be, but where it is now in comparison when making our decision of approving or denying anything. The other part that I just wanted to ask, you mentioned there was a 400-page report. For anybody that likes some nighttime reading, is any of the stuff that is these plans, where could they, just a regular citizen of Revere that wanted to access and look and read all of these things, where could they go to do that?
Yeah, I think that's something folks could absolutely reach out to me directly and receive my contact information from the Conservation Commission or from the filing. But also, I think we would work with the project team. We could post that information to the project website. I believe it's revereconstruction.com. You could Google Revere Construction. I do it like every week.
So if just a regular citizen wanted to look over all of this information is publicly available?
Not at the moment, but we could certainly update the website.
Well, conservation has it for review.
They do, yeah. The Conservation Office does have it for public review. And if anybody wanted to reach out, I could give my contact to the Commission Office. They already have it, but they could reach out to LEC, and we could provide electronic copies of anything as well.
I just feel that would be something that for anyone, before they'd come to us and ask us about additional things, that would just put any question they had at ease if they could just access it easily themselves.
The URL for the high school project is rhsconstructionproject.com.
Okay.
And we will post all of this here. There are plans from all of our submissions up there, so there's some degree of content and plans, but we'll put this entire application up there as well.
Appreciate it. That it helps us. So if anyone has questions, we know where to point them, and I think that just helps everyone entitled. So thank you very much.
Is there any infiltration or on-site storage?
So the infiltration will happen because we're taking out 6.5 acres of impervious, right? So this site, and it's something we've been, because we have a regulatory process where we've been kind of doing this. And I know you see a lot of projects. I used to be a commissioner myself, and I design a lot of projects. But you're used to seeing like, okay, we're building something big, and we're going to collect it, and we're going to put it into some sort of tank or big hole in the ground that's going to have some infiltration and hold it back, right? And we don't have that on here. We don't have like the Cultex systems. We don't have that. One, because we have high groundwater, we don't have great soils. But two, we made the move of not increasing the impervious on this site and really dialing it all back. So we increase our infiltration greatly on the site by ripping out all the pavement and replacing it with something that's permeable. And there's no need to have additional holding tanks. We have one, I'll talk about it quick. Holding tanks to reduce peak rate volumes because we're doing it because we're making the site so green. And I think the second slide on the slideshow kind of show, that's a good one to kind of like focus on because that's not really an exaggeration of what we're if you look at the site, there's school fields, and then the visible parking from like a satellite and the drives is really limited. So we made the programmatic decision very early on, and there was pressures in any of these school projects to have more of that other stuff, but to then hold the line and say, no, this is how we need to do it for a variety of reasons. One, it's kind of the right thing to do, and then two, site doesn't really lend itself to digging a big hole and putting a tank in it and having the water. So that I'm not fibbing, we do have a tank. Right now, the project still includes stormwater recycling for the courtyard. So a portion of the site is going to be going into a 40,000 gallon holding tank. It gets treated coming in and it gets treated coming out. And that will be used as a tank for the irrigation of the courtyard, which has a little bit more intensive plant. planting. And the courtyard is the area, it's on the left side of the plan, in between the two, kind of the two arms. And then there'll be some other areas around there. So that's a pretty large project commitment and as kind of when we prepare these things, we try to be very conservative. That water that gets used and doesn't become runoff for that holding tank and for that rainwater recycling doesn't enter into my calcs. Like worst case scenario, that doesn't happen, and this site is still good. One last thing, maybe I'm answering a question that wasn't answered, but this approach, and because we've had other, again, regulatory concerns, questions about like, well, resilience, things are changing. Rainfall intensities are increasing. Our rainfall is changing. How do we know this will work in the future? And if we build a tank to hold the rainwater and hold it back, but then we keep the rest of the pavement, as rainfall changes, at some point that in the future we keep heading down this path that tank's just going to overflow in a 1-year storm, let alone a 100-year storm. By greening the site, that's the most resilient thing we can do. So no matter what the weather is, what the weather patterns are in the future, by taking off all that additional pavement, we will always be better than we are today on this site, no matter what kind of the future brings. It's really, it's the most resilient way we can kind of be, is by not really building it. It's kind of, I guess, is not paving over the entire thing.
So I get the point of everything we put in is going to be better than it is now. It obviously is, right? When I see a project like this, I'm not a wetland scientist. I studied civil and environmental engineering 15 years ago. I would have expected a third-party review of this package, because, I mean, you're telling us total suspended solid numbers. I don't know what the targets are, what the regulations are off the top of my head. I don't have time to read a 400-page report. I don't know if you need oil water separators. I mean, we're approving additions on houses. This is, and you're with Niche Engineering?
Yes.
You guys do third-party reviews of NOIs all the time for jurisdictions.
And vice versa. And then, just again, part of the team that I had put together for this to kind of make sure we're good is our own internal third-party review.
Well,
I know it's like grading your own homework, but it's, this is all prepared so that it could be, if, we're not, what I'm saying here today is very much the tip of, the report itself is meant to be something in the plans that accompany them, can be handed over to any engineer to be, it goes through from soil conditions. If you kind of like work from the back to the front, that kind of puts it in perspective that, there's the geotechnical information, what the soil information is based on. There's the HydroGAD calcs for the 5 different storm events. There's the watershed maps. There's the TSS removal treatment trains for the different, all these are meant to kind of like not just stand on their own, but be able to be verifiable and tied on to something else. So, and again, I've talked about like other regulatory, I mean, we're here before you tonight. This is one of the many regulatory kind of requirements we've done. Going through the MEPA process, this stormwater report went to all those regulatory agencies back in January, February? February. That was the same report that's before you today, other than the report before you today was updated, right? Like as catch basins moved around and things like that. But that report that was sent into the regulatory agencies that we responded to questions for the DEIR, and really don't have any follow-up questions for the FEIR, was sent to a lot of agencies, not just Mass DEP, but you want to rattle any of the other ones off that? Army Corps,
Massachusetts Water.
Resources Authority, what's the water, there's another one that, the watershed,
WRC.
thank
Water
you.
Resources
This is
Council.
council, yeah. So, you know, s- I can only tell you what we've done, and,
No, I get it. I think my point is.
Yep.
Future projects of this size, maybe that aren't subject to all those regulatory departments, we need someone else to review it. I mean, it's, at the end of the day, none of us are gonna catch something on a 400-page report.
and, sorry, to not mention, constant conversations with your DPW.
And I'd also like to add, along with what my colleague was saying too, is a couple of times you mentioned that there's going to be a lot more permeable area than there is now, but you know, if there was a lot of rain in a short time or a little flood, as it existed in the past, the dogs wouldn't run one night, but if it's in the future, if we have a school there and there's a problem with drainage and stuff like that, it's going to be expensive problems going on. Which brings me to my other question. What's the profile of the soil there? Is there a clay base? I mean, you've done, I'm sure there's been test borings done. Is this ground that will allow water to percolate through it easily, or is there something we should worry about down there?
So it's mostly urban fill. Like it is, so once we take the pavement off, it's mostly urban fill, which is a mix of materials. The water will move through it. You know, we're not just going to shed it off. It is permeable. It's not you know, at the bottom of it, there's like clays. I'm just going off memory because I was looking at the geotechnical report before I came, but that was like this afternoon. I mean, if we were to move from like the lowest depths, I think there's clay, and then it gets sandy, and then you move up into like an urban fill layer, which is for the most part is really going to be kind of taken away, like kind of by the time we're done, with like the new layer of like pavement subbases, landscape subbasements, bases, field subbases being really controlled materials, right? Like a gravel fill, structural fills. You know, something that's clean, well graded, and meets certain sieve analysis. So.
You know, I recall, and I stand to be corrected on this, but the reason why I mentioned that is I can remember when the high school, present Revere High School, was being built. Some of that land, it was a brickyard, clay pit, whatever. And one of the reasons why the high school is where it is and not where the fields are, which would have been actually a better site, was because of that profile of the soil underneath. They really couldn't put the building on that spot. And we're not talking that far away from this spot either. Matter of fact, all you gotta do is cross the highway and you're there. And I'm wondering if you have any similar problems with the composition of the soil in that area. And that's kind of like why I was bringing this on, bringing this to the forefront.
Right. So the soil investigations we've done have led us to the foundation design that we're proposing for the building, and to the design that we have today. Not to speak out of turn for the existing high school, that was part of like the study and consideration. I think maybe you're correct about where the high school is located relative to the rest of the fields. Again, being involved in a lot of school projects, I think my feeling is when that high school was built, everything was the path of least resistance, and that's where it's ended up where it is today, and why it's only one story and kind of like maybe functionally obsolete, maybe a lot earlier than it needed to be. But you know, this this project that we're proposing here today is, as far as the timeline can take us, is what it's designed for. We're looking at weather patterns and resiliency at least through 2070, which is kind of when the models fall apart. And then the project itself needs to be 50-year design, the building and all that. So, because this is a state project, it's very important that Revere's putting a lot of resources in it, but the Mass State Building Authority is also putting resources into it, is we have to meet their guidelines for that type of resiliency to address those questions. So the geotechnical engineers on the project have done their investigations and fed that information to us and to the people who are designing the foundations, who are the structural engineers, to put together the systems that, so in 50 years from now, whoever's standing here, or 100 years, hopefully, this school's still functioning as it was designed. Also, a shorter version of that answer is the full geotechnical report is at the last 100 pages of that 400 pages, if anyone wants to look. With the easiest thing to look at is the borings. And I think before the borings, there's a summary page of like the findings.
If you wouldn't mind continuing.
All right, I will try to go through the rest of this rapid fire. Just wanted to talk a bit about the resource areas that we discussed and that I explained at the top of the presentation and the compliance with the performance standards for work within those resource areas. The site has a wide variety of them, overlapping each other in a lot of cases as well. And so this image is sort of similar to the existing conditions image that was next to the aerial in the first slide that I showed, but this shows the proposed conditions. And what's really a standout part of this is that blue polygon that I explained was the bordering land subject to flooding extent up to elevation 4.55, now encompasses a larger extent of the site as a result of the proposed project. You see that the building itself, like I said earlier, the parking garage is at elevation 4 and the first floor elevation at elevation 19, allows for floodwaters between elevation 4 and up to the 100-year floodplain at 11 or 12 to flow freely underneath the building. And also the 2 athletic fields are set at elevations 3 to 4, so those are also going to receive bordering land subject to flooding floodplain at 100-year flood event. The next couple of slides, I'm just going to break out all of these resource areas so we can get a better grasp on everything. So this first one shows the buffer zone impacts and the impacts to that non-bordering freshwater wetland or the isolated wetland within the dog track. So on the left of all these images, you'll see the existing conditions. On the right, you'll see the proposed. So you see on the right, the school building itself is partially within that isolated wetland footprint. That's something we came to the commission in August of 2024 to discuss and went over some mitigation commitments that the team was prepared to provide as part of the project to mitigate for the permanent impact of that wetland, which I'll touch on at the very final slide of the presentation. But what you can see in the dark green hatched line work is a portion of the school. Some of the internal driveways and parking areas are also within the buffer zone, but notably we have that outdoor learning classroom with a diverse landscape planting plan being implemented there and replacing essentially a lot of invasive non-native species. We have Phragmites growing up into the meadow there, Japanese knotweed, multiflora rose, Asiatic bittersweet, like a lot of those things in the limit of work will be removed as a result of the project and replaced with this diverse planting plan. And again, on sort of the east side of the Eastern County Ditch, a reduction in impervious area within the buffer zone should be an improvement to the conditions. We also have some impacts to bordering vegetated wetland along the Eastern County Ditch and bank to the Eastern County Ditch. Earlier when Dave was speaking to some of the outfalls along the Eastern County Ditch, you'll see we have outfalls 1 through 6 on this image. I believe 2 of them are existing outfalls that were reutilizing, essentially rerouting the drainage infrastructure within the site and connecting to the existing outfalls. And there are going to be 4 new outfalls. To bank along the Eastern County Ditch for the outfalls, there's really only temporary disturbance, which is grading to accommodate installation, and then it'll be restored in place after the completion of construction. The compensatory storage area, sort of in the top right of the image between outfall 5 and 6, is where that compensatory storage area in the outdoor learning classroom is going to connect with the Eastern County Ditch. So that's 20 linear feet of impacts. It does exceed the regulatory threshold for bank impacts, so we provided a wildlife habitat evaluation within the notice of intent application to comply with that standard. I think this image is really the most telling about the discussion we've been having with the reduction of impervious area on the site. This is sort of a paired image of the riverfront area, which extends 200 feet from the Eastern County Ditch, in addition to existing impervious on the site. So the impervious is shown in gray. You see the 200-foot and 100-foot extending from the Eastern County Ditch. And there are certain hatchworks that show where pavement is within that riverfront area. Some areas we're calling previously developed, which is essentially the raised, elevated portion of the dog track where, like, once it was degraded and didn't have topsoil, it was just sort of a sandy racetrack. And now there's some invasive colonizing vegetation growing there. And then there are some areas of undisturbed riverfront areas, so that's where you see on sort of the north side of the Eastern County Ditch where the dashed line work is extending in that upland meadow. That is currently undisturbed, but as you see on the right image at proposed, we really just have some walking paths and the boardwalks proposed in that area. And you can see that sort of the blue, like the light blue and dark blue hatchwork extending within that 100 and 200-foot riverfront area really decreases as a result of the project. So overall, within the 200-foot riverfront area, we're decreasing impervious area by 9.8%, or about 51,000 square feet. This might be my last resource area we need to talk about. This is the bordering land subject to flooding, which can sometimes be the most complicated one, but Niche Engineering prepared a really detailed colored graphic to go with our notice of intent application, so I just kind of pulled the overarching theme out of that to share with you today. On the left, you have the existing and right proposed. The concept of complying with the bordering land subject to flooding regulatory standards is for every cubic yard of fill that you're placing at a 1-foot increment, you need to replace that at a 1-to-1 ratio with compensatory storage. So on the left at existing, Niche broke down each elevation with a different color. So you see the darkest color, which is just a couple of squiggly lines in the Eastern County Ditch, is elevation 0 to 0.99. Then you get to the red, which is 1 to 1.99. You get to yellow, which is 2 to 2.99. Blue is 3 to 3.99. And then the green is 4 to 4.55, because remember, the BLSF extends just up to elevation 4.55. Now on the right side, so you see sort of on the left side, it all kind of extends from the Eastern County Ditch and just kind of bleeds out of that area. And you can see at the proposed conditions, the way that Niche has graded the site really distributes that a little more evenly and allows it to spread around the site rather than just in concentrated areas within the site. But more importantly, to comply with the performance standards, again, we need to meet at least 1-to-1 ratio of the proposed storage for what is lost at each foot increment. So if you lose 10 feet at 0 to 0.99, you can't make up for that at a higher elevation. So Niche put together this compensatory storage analysis table that shows that at each foot increment, we're increasing storage at the site. So for a cumulative total, the proposed project results in an increase of stormwater storage of 5,116 cubic yards, which far exceeds the regulatory requirements, but also just would result in an overall improvement to the stormwater storage capacity of the site. With that, I just wanted to sort of run through a lot of these mitigation and site improvements we've been talking throughout this presentation. This is sort of the same colored rendering plan that we started the presentation at the top, but this shows the sort of multimodal transportation opportunities throughout the site through pedestrian, multi-use path. There's a shared use path proposed along VFW Parkway and North Shore Road to allow bicycles and other means of access to the site. But in addition to a lot of the things we've already been talking about, notably the reduction of impervious area at 6.5 acres, actually, looking at this list, I think we've touched on every single one of these throughout this presentation, so I may just leave it there because I imagine there are a lot of questions to get to. So happy to pass it back to the commission.
Thank you very much, Claire. I appreciate the data and the presentation. It was quite extensive.
I tried my best to keep it short, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just want to remind folks that this is for, we're talking about the high school here and how it impacts this area, and things that I see that have come up in this presentation that, we have these 2 large turf fields, and people will see turf fields and say, oh, that's not impervious, but quite the contrary. Those is just as good as pervious surfaces. So with that being said, I can definitely understand why some of our commissioners might have some reservations about approving this tonight. And it is a lot of data to go through. It is certainly a large plan. But I'd like to open up to the commission and with any further questions about this. Would any of the commissioners like to discuss potentially having a third-party review and potentially postponing at this time?
I understand, obviously, the concerns that were brought up, and I think that they are things that we should absolutely think about, but I do think with the eyes that are on this and the people that are the ones that have done this and the fact that they do third-party reviews already, even if they've done it internally, we understand. I just think there's too many eyes that have already looked this over and that have reviewed it for us to make that a necessity. I believe that what's been done is done correctly, and I don't think that it's necessary, but obviously that's my one opinion as one commissioner. It's up to everybody else to make that determination. But if, me being asked just from seeing the site, looking over, I didn't look over 407,000 pages, but from looking over and what I've seen with my knowledge of, obviously limited knowledge compared to the people presenting, I would just say that I feel that the due diligence has been done and that I don't think in this case it is necessary. I think it would be overkill, in my opinion, but yet again, I'm just one commissioner.
I'd like to hear thoughts from other commissioners about this as well. I don't want to make a rash decision about this project and discover that we've made the wrong decision, essentially. And I know that the MEPA process is quite extensive. You have to go through numerous regulatory agencies, and you certainly have to check all the boxes, so to speak.
Yeah, that's correct. I'm sorry to interrupt, but just
No.
to touch on that and expand on what Dave mentioned about that MEPA process, it's not necessarily a permitting process, it's a regulatory review process that we submit above and beyond the information that the commission receives in a notice of intent. And all state agencies and even members of the public have opportunities to comment and review all the materials. And we've gone through 2 rounds of that review, the most recent of which, submitted in February, had the stormwater and all the detailed information that was provided to the commission for this filing. And we did receive a comment letter from Mass DEP Wetlands, who would be reviewing and issuing the file number, and their comment letter did not indicate any issues with performance standard review. They reviewed the stormwater management plans and information as well, and we did not receive any comments about non-compliance with the stormwater management standards. And to my knowledge, I checked this morning, we received a file number from DEP and have no technical comments from them either. So I just wanted to point that out as well.
Yes, it was definitely surprising with how extensive this project is that there weren't any comments. I was fully anticipating that we would have something.
I think they've seen enough.
They have seen enough of us is right. And I do think that the amount of impervious surface that you will be removing is great. And I think that the development of the site, having compensatory flood storage, having a robust infiltration system that with its multi-stage and doing a more of a natural process to filter it out as you get closer to the Eastern County ditch. Some of the portions of the plan that I was able to review were quite extensive. The O&M plan was something that I particularly thought was thoughtful, the way that it was laid out, and that it would be something, as Dave said, would be ongoing. This is not something that's just going to, the building's built and it's just going to stop. And I don't think the neighbors over on Dunn Road or Sagamore or even the MBTA are going to be happy if that site, the flood storage stops working.
Right.
And especially the folks that are using the Eastern County ditch getting clogged up to the point where it can't even move through its culverts on the site. So I can definitely understand why we would want to have third party, but from my standpoint, I don't think that it would be necessary for that to happen, just considering the amount of proverbial hoops you've had to jump through.
If I may also, if it would help commission members ahead of the next meeting, like I understand that there's still more to digest and it might be appropriate to continue tonight's meeting to the next one, but if the commission wants to provide in an email, maybe a bullet list of various, like the specifics you want us to pull out of the application to make it more digestible, we can certainly do that and provide that in addition to any supplemental information that the commission requests to facilitate the review.
I think that would definitely be reasonable. How do
So
others feel?
I think that's part of my point. You know, you can give us the total suspended solids numbers, you can give us the amount of, impervious service that you're getting now versus what it was. You can give us all of these numbers, but then we have to go figure out what to compare these
numbers
numbers to, and we just don't have that knowledge or time. And I mean, we can, in this jurisdiction, we can build within the 100-foot riverfront area. Like, that's just occurring to me. I don't think you can, but again, like without spending a week reading the 400-page document and looking at our
Yeah.
bylaws, and I just have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to ask for.
And I could certainly, pull information out of the full package, because I know with the stormwater package, in addition to our report, there's a lot to go through. In the notice of intent narrative, we do have the regulatory compliance section that really spells out and has sort of pasted regulatory references to be able to cross-check and make sure that we're sort of addressing those adequately. When it comes to the riverfront area, that is a really good point, that in a lot of cases you can't build within that first 100 feet, but a big interesting component, I guess, about this site is that it has these sort of 3 layers of riverfront area that are split out for a regulatory compliance situation, which is degraded, which would be areas that are lacking topsoil, so pavement, gravel, things like that. Previously developed, which, like I said earlier, on the left side of the screen, that's sort of the outer ring or the elevated dog track that it was previously developed, but now it has some vegetation growing on it, but it's not really like your natural looking area. And then sort of the undeveloped areas. So when you're dealing with work within degraded riverfront area, the goal of achieving compliance with the performance standard is to not do any more work, or you're not increasing the degraded area within that riverfront area. And we really go into detail in that in the report. So if it's easier, I can sort of like pull that text out and put it into a more like condensed couple of pages rather than having you guys dig through a big.
So I guess that's kind of my point too. I saw that and know that that's obviously a law, but you explained degraded versus non-degraded. This is the first time I'm hearing about degraded versus non-degraded.
Sure.
So my review is going to be meaningless if I can't pull stuff like that out of the report.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask one more
Yeah.
quick question?
Please.
This really is in conservation, but it's a curiosity more than anything. You have many areas that are designated as garden areas, and I forgot the term that you used.
The natural outdoor
Yeah.
classroom.
Are they going to be lighted?
That's a great question. I don't think the natural outdoor classroom is. I'll let Emmett speak to that. He's been working on a lot of these gardens here.
So some of the major pathways will be lit for safety reasons and for circulation, but the further you get away from the building, the areas that are meant to be more natural will not be lit and are not intended to be occupied after hours. But the main circulation pathways will be lit to safe levels.
Can I assume that D is going to be lit? It's in between buildings?
Correct, yes.
And not G?
Not G, right.
Thank you.
So, to one of Tom's point with the 100-foot buffer zone and what I expressed while we were on site about what kind of treatment you'd be applying to these impervious surfaces, the parking areas that are close to the ditch, having things like that, upgrades of not using sodium chloride and things of that nature. Only because I'm sure that you would want to maintain the roadway that goes around the building. It is a lot to really wrap our brains around. And I feel that we definitely need to, if you agree, that we would need to continue this to really kind of have a really good look at it. Have a discussion offline about how we might want to proceed with a peer review or third-party peer review of this, just to kind of give it a little bit more. Not that we don't trust you guys. That's all we're getting here, or trust MEPA or the MEPA process in that vein. But I think that having some time to kind of really dig into it for all of the commissioners, I think would be valuable to make an informed decision. And I definitely think that we would probably have to have a more constructive offline conversation about how we really want to proceed so that we can keep this meeting moving forward. But I would open it up to other commissioners for their thoughts about how we want to proceed. Do you think that that continuing this till next month would be sufficient amount of time, or? I mean, I think we should continue it anyways, but thoughts, please.
Well, I think that it's overkill at this point. My personal opinion, I do understand having the additional reviews, but with the fact that they've gone through MEPA, the fact that they were going through all of this, that they have 10 million eyes on them, they've done all these reports, I just feel at this point that we should be good, but I respect your opinion as chair. I respect the opinions of others on this commission. And I don't think it could hurt anything to have to do the extra reviews. I just am somebody that is cost conscious, even though I know how much money this thing's going to cost. I just think it's going to cost additional money and time for the additional review. And I personally think it's overkill, but I will respect the opinion of the rest of the commissioners for what they decide they want to do, if they decide they want to continue it. My personal opinion would be that we should be good to move forward, but I will yet again respect what everyone else wants to do. Thank you.
I definitely think we need some more time to review, for sure. And I definitely appreciate the time given to us to do this, or to give it its due justice here as well. you've had quite a long time to plan it, and I want to make sure that we give you our due diligence in
Yeah.
reviewing it as well. I don't know if a month will be sufficient if we're going to be doing the review. If not, we might have to have somebody else, and we'll
Yeah.
obviously reach out to you guys about that as well.
Right. And to that point, I know, I guess at this point, we're at July. The construction schedule is really aggressive and tight. And our hope was to sort of get through this review process and be in a good place come August, which is the next meeting. And I completely understand, I don't want to push the commission's comfortability on the other hand of that either. So if there's anything that the project team can do, whether it's scheduling another site visit, I know we did one on May 30th, and only a few commission members could make it, so we could absolutely schedule another one this coming month before the August meeting. If anybody else wanted to get eyes on the site, it will look a little different from May 30th because now we're into the phase 1 demolition, but at least if commission members had questions after a couple of weeks of getting a closer look, maybe after we've pulled out some of that really pertinent information for commission members to review, if it would help to have a site visit and just sort of go over that again to refresh memories.
Okay.
Or whatever you need from us, we're happy to do anything.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I think what we'll do is we'll hold off on questions. Well, we don't have any more questions, but I'd like to open it up for any opponents of the project at this time, seeing as how we're kind of at a loss here.
So I'm John Shu, 221 Rice. I've been providing some administrative and technical support for the Conservation Commission. So if you guys are going to go down the path of a peer review, you need to vote on it. That's what you want to do. You need to get concurrence from the applicant. You'll need someone to write a scope of work. You'll need to bid it out. And then that person at a meeting, when that's ready, they'll come and present to you and answer the questions you've had regarding that. This is July 10th. You're probably not going to get that done by the next meeting. So this will push it until the September meeting. Just kind of want to let you guys know that. So you have any,
The onus would be on the applicant to bid it out and pay for it, though, correct?
what's that?
The onus would be on the applicant to bid it out and pay
No,
for it.
no, the third-party review is under the auspices of the Conservation Commission. It's your contractor. They will pay for it, but it's under the auspices of the Conservation Commission. You write the scope, you coordinate with the contractor. The money has to be deposited into an escrow account up front. And so you have to kind of get a bid up front to know how much it is to get the applicant to agree to it. Because is it $10,000? Is it $20,000? You know, the last time we did this was for the high school project, for the determination of the boundaries.
Yep.
And I think that ran under $10,000 for that. So it's probably under that.
With this being such a bigger report, wouldn't you feel that it might be more expensive than that?
Well, again, what is it you're looking to get clarified? That's kind of part of your scope that you'd have to decide. Are you only interested in looking at the stormwater report, and does this meet all the standards from a third-party review? That's fairly limited.
Thank you,
So,
John.
all right.
So at this time, I think we're going to have to continue this. It is definitely a lot of information that we need to really review. So I think that it would be prudent for us to extend to August at the very minimum and probably have a little discussion after this. But yes, any more questions?
Good evening. My name is Marta Gallego, and I'm the owner of the property located at 28 Shamude Street. So basically, my house is like next to the project, And I have like 3 questions, but I know it's late, and I don't know if you want to hear me today or if you want to wait until next hearing that I can come back with my questions. Basically, so it's up to you.
No, go ahead, please,
Okay.
by all means.
So my house is located like next to the ditch. So basically the ditch start under my driveway. So, and we share the fence. So by the city owns one part and the fence by the other side. Now there is a lot of vegetation or weed, I don't know how to call it, that is overgrown. So the former owner of the property, they every year they go there and cut everything and throw away the vegetation and everything. Since the city owns the property, so they haven't done any more. So now that vegetation is going to my house, to the fence on top, and is attaching to my house. So I don't know if I can cut that vegetation or no, or what should I do, because that's now it's attaching to my house. And so that's one of the things. So the second thing is, so before, when the drain start, that thing gets clogged when was a lot of rains or heavy rains. So, and I know we were talking about the storm water. So I'm worried that in the future with this project, I can get again with a lot of overflow on my driveway, probably my house too.
So the drainage that's currently on the site is definitely severely degraded. So I can understand why you would probably be experiencing an increased amount of water on your or adjacent to your property. And that's something that this project will hopefully rectify. To answer your other question, if that vegetation is encroaching on your property, you have every right to maintain it and get
Okay.
rid of it.
The thing is, I've been calling to the 311 to ask for a visit that they can see if they can cut it or maintain the vegetation, cut it as it was before. But they, every time that I open a case, they just close it. They just close the case. They don't answer my calls. They never do a visit. So I've been in this process since last October, and I haven't get any answer from the city.
Okay.
So
Your address is again? I'm sorry.
28 Shamut.
Okay.
So,
I will look
and-
into it.
Yeah, the last one is, so when you do the visits, I don't know if you have seen, there is a tower in the middle. So I don't know if you noticed, but there is a nest that belongs to an eagle. So every year the eagle comes, I'm sorry, I don't know, it sounds so weird, but I'm worried about the eagle because she comes every year and has these eagles there. And she stays like since May until September. So I think right now she's there. And I'm so worried about her because probably when you remove the tower, so there's no more nest for her. So I'm worried if we can rehome that tower or what's going on
So
because she comes every year. I've been living there for 8 years, and she comes every year.
Not sure. I'd have to see what kind of species it is. I'm not sure what kind of protection it has, or I think these folks here.
Chair, I was going to ask if he could respond.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't speak to the osprey. We know it's there. We're actually, that light tower that it nests in is part of Phase 1 demo scope, but we're not going to touch it until it's gone. So we're going to monitor when that thing heads south, I guess. Take that tower down, and as was noted in the plan before, we do have
plan to put
ultimately a
another one.
replacement for it, but that light tower that nests in won't be touched until it's gone for the season.
Appreciate that. I didn't realize it was the osprey that was nesting in there. Thank you.
Chair, do you mind if I ask him one other question?
Absolutely.
Based off of her concerns for the vegetation, would your team be able to help her with that instead of her having to go through the city, which obviously isn't doing anything, or having us having to do that due diligence? Would you guys be willing to just help her out and take care of that problem?
Yeah, we can figure it out. I'll definitely, as the owner's project manager, Brian Dakin, for the record, left field, we can talk to her. I understand there are a few, the Wonderland property sort of tooths out to Shawmut
Yes.
at a few places. A few of those are outside of our scope of work, but one way or the other, I think it's something that between us and the city, I can help coordinate and make happen. So I'll make sure she has my
If-
contact info, and
That's
we'll go from
exactly
there.
what I was going to ask. If
Yep.
you can give her your contact information, that way, because we're going to play the runaround game, and
Yeah.
as a homeowner, that I have issues with issues, and this is DCR, this is Army Corps, it's
Yep.
in the city.
We can get
There can be
someone there.
10 different organizations that have the rights to something, and they all do nothing. So if you have the ability to help this woman, greatly appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sounds good. And thank you for the extension or the continuance on this. But anyways, let's continue on here. Still a lot of stuff to get through. Next up is a request for determination of applicability. Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. I apologize.
Did we go through the vote to continue, or where do we stand with this?
No, we're gonna continue it till next time. Is that acceptable for me?
We accept the continuation. I just want to go over, I guess, next steps is
I thought we
we'll be in touch on, I'll be pulling out some pertinent information based on the commission's interests today and questions today to try to give you a more sort of like condensed submittal, and we will be in touch on next steps. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
Oh, and Brian, you
Sure.
go ahead.
And I'd like to thank the commission, and I completely understand where you folks come from, that you're looking out for the city's best interest. In a way, that's also my job. We have no problem continuing to next month. If we have to go into September, there starts becoming a chance that it could ripple into holding off Phase 1 construction. This has been a tightly wound schedule from day one. It took a while to get this project passed locally. And I really would encourage the commission to reach out to us to see what we could do with our consultants, to see if there's some flexibility, if you'd like outside answers. We have a myriad of companies looking at this, including peer reviewers. Anything we could help you with to try to get you comfortable to potentially an August approval would absolutely hold the schedule. If needed, we have to go into September, and certainly after that, my message to the city would probably have to be, well, we have to adjust our schedule. And unlike a lot of residential or commercial projects, we really only have one window per year to move into a school. There's not much of an option to move in 2 months late, 3 months late. So
No, I get that.
anything we could do to help the committee to get everyone understanding of what the engineering is here and how we think we've done the right thing would be encouraged. We're here, we can meet anytime and reach out with any questions. But I just really would love to see this be able to get to a point where we're all on the same page in August.
That'd be great. And if you do have any peer review information that you can share with us, that would be great.
Yeah.
That would be a great place to start. If you already have it, that a third-party review that you've already done, that you can provide to us, that would kind of ease our tension a little bit about making this decision, that would be great.
Yep.
And obviously pulling out information from the plan, anything that commissioners, I would encourage any concerns that you might have to reach out to these folks and ask for the information. We don't know what we don't know, but we
Yep.
want to make sure we know. So if you could provide some of that peer review stuff you've already received, that
Yeah,
would be,
we'll
that
do.
would be invaluable.
And once-
maybe
sorry,
we
keep
can
going.
maybe we can just kind of internally get this done if you already have peer reviews of the work that, or of the designs and numbers that you've crunched and so on and so forth. So I think that would definitely help
Absolutely.
tremendously.
We do have a firm on board to review we're finishing the 60% construction document phase right now, to review 60%, 90% shop drawings and final implementation from a stormwater and flood mitigation point of view. Sanborn Head is the name of that company. They're one of the people I'll call in the morning too, because I know they've started work to see where they're at. So I just wanted to give some peace of mind that beyond MIPA, MSBA reviews, internal reviews, we'll make as much of that information as we have available to you. But do understand, as far as David Conway's engineering and work go, we have a peer reviewer staying on for the duration of the project, not only to make sure the design's where it's at, but that it gets bid and implemented properly on behalf of the city.
Okay. That actually carries a lot of clout in my mind. But thank you very much for providing that information.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, we ready? All right. So as I was saying, next up is a request for determination of applicability, 907 North Shore Road. This was the removal of a billboard. The applicant is Noah Zymex, Ultraloom Services, and the owner is the City of Revere. So if you wouldn't mind. You're the one doing the removal? Yes, please, come up. If you could, if you could state your name and,
Oh, you gotta press the
put your
button.
mic on.
It'll turn red when it's on. There you
There
go.
you are.
My name's Greg Ziomek. I'm Noah Ziomek's father, the applicant.
We met with you on the site, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, that's
That
right.
was me.
That's right. You showed up in the Mercedes that we were kind of baffled that it was a work car. Now I'm starting to remember. Okay. Yes, on the side of the road near that auto body place.
Hello again, sir.
Yeah, May 31st.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
So with this project, I think one of the biggest concerns I have is, I know you said you were going to be doing the majority of the work with hand tools, or all the work with hand tools. I just have concerns that you won't be able to get the larger pieces of steel out unless you cut them into extremely small pieces and lower them down carefully in the marsh area. So I just want to elaborate a little bit when you say hand tools and how you're going to get it out of there.
Yes, so there will be no equipment driven in to the wetlands. We would go in with basically bandsaws, a torch, just disassemble with ladders, take it down piece by piece from the top down. Those beams will be cut into, I don't know the exact weight, but it'll be,
Probably 50-pound
probably
pieces.
100-pound pieces.
Yeah, maybe.
Carry them out and load them where we met on Highland.
Okay, no
Yeah, do-
plans of
Do it all the time.
picking or having cranes coming in, nothing, like on the North Shore Road or something like that, no impediment of traffic or anything like that?
No, there's power lines there, so we really can't get a boom up in the air, I think, anyway. And we normally, this small of a sign, we demolish them by hand.
Okay. Any other questions from the commissioners on this?
I would just state as having been to visit it, it's decrepit, so it's not like you're moving one of those beautiful new ones. This is an old one that God knows how long it's been sitting there, so the removal of this will beautify that area. So just want to state for the other commissioners that may not have seen it, this is going to look a lot better when it's done. And the fact that you're not disturbing the area is great as well, so thank you.
Anything else? No?
So are we gonna, voting for a negative determination? 'Cause he's not-
Yes. Yeah, they're applying for a negative determination that it wouldn't be impacting any of the resource areas. I'm a little reluctant to make it a negative determination, only because of the amount of work. I know it's a small sign, but it's still a considerable amount of work, and, torches, things of that nature going in there. And when do you plan on doing the work? What's your timetable? Is this a as soon as possible type situation, or are you going to wait till the weather gets a little colder and there's less Phragmites all around? When timetable wise?
I mean, once we get your approval, your blessing, we would apply for a building permit. Then we have to get a hot work permit and a fire detail out there, because we use a torch.
Yep.
And it's minimal. It's really minimal. I mean, a path in, which there already is a path in, because when they go into service the board, they walk in and out. And we typically, anything we do lay over, they pop back up in 2 days,
Yeah.
any of this stuff. So seasonal, it won't be an issue. It's literally about 1 day of work there, and then 1 day carrying out. Possibly could even get it done all in 1 day. It's not a lot of work.
Okay. I would definitely not want to have any of the debris laid down in the area. I would definitely, as soon as you cut it off the top, send it out.
Yeah.
That would be what I would do, and that would make me feel comfortable for a negative determination for this. I don't want to see a trash pile lay down and then it sits there for a couple weeks, and it's, but I would definitely like to make sure that it goes as soon as it gets cut off the board.
Absolutely.
Okay. I don't know. I don't, seeing as how they're not going to be putting any heavy machinery, they're not going to be doing anything other than using hand tools and obviously hot works permits with a fire watch. I don't think this will have a major impact on this resource area. And if no other commissioners have any questions, I would say that this would be, I'd like to call for a motion of a negative determination of applicability.
I'll make a motion for a negative determination of applicability.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We'll have paperwork out to you soon, and we'll get this done. But thank you very much for your
So
time.
we wait for the paperwork and?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have to get this
Perfect.
filed and submitted to the DEP before we can proceed, and then you can get your building permits, apply for the hot works permit and all of that stuff. So, but we can definitely talk a little bit more offline. Our interim conservation agent can definitely help you out a little bit more as well, but you'll be hearing from us soon
Okay.
with everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is a notice of intent, 74 Dunn Road. This is an addition to a single-family home. DEP file number 0610847. The applicant is Samuel Tikha.
Good evening, my name is Samuel Teka. I am the owner of 74 Dunn Road.
Awesome. And I'm just gonna, can we open it? No, open a hearing for this. So yes, if your team is here to present, if you'd like to come up and just kind of give us a little bit of an overview. I don't know if you have any materials that you can provide. I think we've gone out to the site twice now. And for some of the commissioners that haven't gone out, it's all open at this point, and they don't plan on increasing impervious surface on the site. So I'll let them kind of describe it a little bit more, but it is definitely an interesting project, to say the least, with all the drainage you guys have that is currently coming out of the house and what you have as far as, your paver driveway there that needs a little bit of attention. But yes, please, go ahead. If you could state your name.
Yes, hi, I'm the contractor, and what we're proposing is an addition to a one-family home. It's just one level. The bottom is going to be open, so the water's going to be able to flow through it. It's 657 square feet. It's small, not too big.
And you said the elevation of the first floor was 14 feet where we are on site, correct?
11.
11, sorry.
Yes.
The first floor elevation is 11, correct. So this is basically going to be a addition on piling, so everything will be open underneath.
Yes.
And the media that, are you going to be putting crushed stone, correct? Underneath,
Yes.
washed crushed stone
Yes.
underneath? Okay. I don't know. So any questions?
Hi, so I was at the site yesterday. I noticed you have a small porch in the back,
Yes.
and then there's a grass area, and then there's some patio blocks at the far end.
Yes.
So I would assume that the porch is going,
Yes.
and that's going to be part of this addition?
Yes.
And that's also going to be the level of the first floor?
Yeah, so the level is going to be about 2 feet higher than the actual home. So it's going to be almost the same level as the home.
And will it go as far as the blocks and the
No.
stern of the back?
No, it's not going to go all the way.
Not
to
going
the
to go
bottom.
that
said
far, so it's going to end somewhere
26 feet?
where the
you said?
grass is?
Yes.
So it's going to extend 26 feet out from the current
Okay,
foundation?
I didn't take a measurement, so I'm just, but that would probably be somewhere in the grass area that exists now,
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and then you're going to put crushed gravel underneath?
Yes.
That was the only problem when I saw the place, because I was worried about compensatory storage, but the way you're proposing this, there won't be a problem with that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commissioners? At this time, I'd like to open up to the audience for any questions about the project, either for or against. Okay. And no other comments or questions from the commissioners? Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Mhm.
do we have a plan that we're going to approve?
So you have submitted your plan already.
Did you get a plan?
74 Dunn Road. I actually reviewed it yesterday, but yes, they have their plan submitted. And you have your abutter notifications
Yes.
that you, yeah. When I saw you come in with your lovely folder there. But, so you have your legal notice in, the abutters have been notified, you have a DEP file, plans have been submitted. Stormwater on the site is definitely not going to be a problem. And as long as you are capable of making sure that the water is on their property still when it comes off the gutters, I really don't see a problem with granting this addition. And if we don't have any comments or questions from anybody in the audience or any comments or questions from the commissioners, I'd like to call for a motion to close out the hearing.
Make a motion to close out the hearing.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. I think that this is definitely going to be a great addition to what you have for living space right now, pardon the pun. And I hope it all goes well. And at this time, I'd like to call for a motion to approve this notice of intent.
Motion to approve the NOI.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time and the multiple site visits that you guys had gone on.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate it. So that is 847. 1 second, sorry. 0847. There you go. Excellent. Next up is a request for a certificate of compliance, 26 Curtis Road. DEP file number 0610542. Is there anybody here for the, yes, there you are.
Thank you so much. I'm Anthony Guardi. I'm the attorney for the owner of 26 Curtis Road, Adil Assad. He's selling the home. And about 20 years ago, there was an order of conditions for an addition that was going to be built. Unfortunately, the owner at the time, the seller's father, passed away shortly thereafter. The owner at the time was young, never finished, never did any of the work. I think that was confirmed by Mr. Carlton. And thank you for doing that on such short notice. And now we're looking to clear the title by removing that order of conditions or finding it that it has been, I guess you wouldn't say it would be approved, I guess it would just be a removal. So I turn it over to the commission. Any questions or comments? The only item I would like to say is that I do have, I guess, the fortunate ability to work in different municipalities. And I was just so impressed with both Tom and I think John for responding incredibly quickly and being so prompt and so helpful. And Tom, I know you're a volunteer, so I just have to tell you on behalf of the family, I know they appreciated it quite a bit.
Yes, thank you very much for going
We
out
just
there
get
for that.
thanks?
Yes,
Wow.
yes, we did.
I can confirm that the addition was never built.
Excellent.
So-
Excellent. And thank you very much for your time, and I'm sure that jumping through these hoops to get this closed out was a little bit of a shock to see that you still had an open order of conditions on a piece of property. Not uncommon, but thank you very much, Tom, and John for your diligence in this matter. And seeing as how no work was done, I would like to call for a motion to approve the certificate of compliance.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much. Now I'd like to tell you my complaints.
No. Excellent. Okay, where are we? Summer Street. Okay, next up is a request for a certificate of compliance, 102 Summer Street. DEP file number 0610815. This was for a retaining wall and a removal of pool, regrading a little bit. But I will let you take it away, sir.
And given the property back to the next door neighbors.
Oh, yes, that's correct. The expansion of next door neighbor's driveway as well, so yes, I'll let you.
Yeah, so good evening, Ryan Rosine with Goddard Consulting. As you might remember, we were before you last year for the demolition of the detached garage, shed, and filling in of the in-ground swimming pool, and construction of the new retaining wall, and along the actual property line, giving back the neighbor a portion of their driveway. We submitted the as-built plan, as you can see here. This here is the wall along the three sides there, along the property line. So it's been restored to the property line. This whole interior area here, where the swimming pool was, is now lawn. It's fully grown in. There's no concerns with erosion. And that's pretty much it. I know a couple members were there earlier this week and saw it. In the original plan, there was supposed to be there's a small retaining wall on this side that was not constructed. It was deemed that wall there it's a short wall, 1 to 3 feet or 2.5 feet max. So it didn't actually need to come down. So that was not put in. And then the large retaining wall here is about 7 inches higher than what was originally proposed on the plans. So that's a minor deviation that we feel has no negative impacts on the resource areas. So I'll turn it over to you guys if there's any questions or comments.
I had thank you very much for meeting with us on site and walking it down. And I can definitely confirm to the other commissioners that the site is completely stabilized. Grass has grown in. The retaining wall is up. And the retaining wall on the back with their neighbor is up as well. Where they abut the neighbor behind them and closer to the marsh, that one's all in. And the driveway on the other side where they gave back to the other property is stabilized with crushed stone, essentially, instead of doing permeable or pavers on that part of the property. So it is all stable. It is the retaining wall. They did what they said they were going to do. Aside from the 2 drains that were supposed to be there, but the amount of open space in the blocks, I think, would more than make up for it. But I definitely have some concerns about the spacing on the blocks and the layout of it and the construction of it. I have some concerns, and I'm sure others who have seen it may have some similar concerns. But at this time, I'd like to open up to any other commissioners if they have any comments, questions, concerns.
Mr. Chair, I was down there yesterday, and I thought it looked fantastic, but I'm puzzled by the openings on the top layer
The openings?
of the blocks.
Yep.
You didn't put a cap on it. And I mentioned that before, and predictably, there were 2 Dunkin' Donuts cups and a bunch of straws.
There
For
were,
people
yeah.
walking down the street, and they just saw a hole and they put the stuff in there. Is it there for a reason? I mean, does that drain all the way down to the ground?
I mean, because the blocks below it, so the top ones are much more solid and they just have that smaller open at the top. The ones below it, like the 2nd, 3rd, 4th levels down, they have the much bigger openings in the middle, so they're more just a surrounded, and then they're filled with the aggregate. So because those are open from the top, water can percolate all the way down through those most likely.
Well, I wish there was is there a solution? I would like to not have that be a trash disposal, but you would want that to be something that's porous too. So.
What if they put wire caps?
Well, there's porous concrete too, but I don't know if that would work fast enough.
The wall manufacturer makes a cap. I think it requires a cap.
Yeah, I think the wall manufacturer does make caps for those, but I don't think that was part of the original plan to have, I don't believe the original plan called for caps on the top. The plan that was approved, so.
Actually, I think I did mention that, but anyway, it's not a big deal, but it is just kind
Yeah,
of.
no, I understand. Yeah, I did see
Because the
some of
wall
that in
looks
there.
beautiful.
Yeah, no, I agree.
like
It looks better, but I did see that, and it's unfortunate, but it can get cleaned up, and it's something that the homeowners are gonna, might have to deal with occasionally.
Yeah, heck, I'd even put something porous and then dirt on it and put some plants there.
Put some screen so they can't do it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that considering what it was before, the pool and all that impervious surface, that it definitely had, it has a lot more value the way it is now as from a conservation standpoint. And I think that the project has definitely been an improvement, and you definitely met, aside from those 2 drains, everything has been met on the site. And, you didn't do that work on the right side with the retaining wall, but that's peanuts comparatively speaking, to what it was. But I feel as though that they've made the improvements that they said they were going to make, and they definitely met their order of conditions as far as drainage is concerned, putting up a retaining wall and restoring the property back to the neighbor. I don't see any of the neighbors here who would be in opposition to it, so that's a good sign. And
And may I just add, the building inspector did already sign off and
yes.
did a final inspection of the wall and passed it, so.
So with that said, if the building inspector gave their blessing and you have met your obligations for the portions of construction, I see no reason why we can't approve this certificate of compliance. Yes, please.
Just on Joe's point, is it possible to just, not the whole thing, but just the part where people would be walking by where they would just take a Dunkin' Donuts cup and throw it in there? Is it possible to have just caps on just those, or even like something wire where things can still get through it, but it's not doesn't look like trash? Because I mean, at the end of the day, the new homeowners may just let it lapse, and we want to beautify Revere. We want Revere.
Yeah.
We live here. We love this place. So things like that, just preventative, because the next owner may not care, and this is our one chance to help that. Is there any way to have that done, or?
Possibly. I don't know the exact solution. I mean, there is a chain link fence right on top of it, so you wouldn't be able to, you would have to take up the entire fence and then to put on like a cap from the manufacturer.
You could also fill it with aggregate as well.
You could fill it with aggregate all the way to the top, that way nothing can get in there. You could also maybe install some sort of screen on top. I don't know how exactly you would attach that to the top.
Is there a cheap option you're willing to do?
I would have to, so the applicant sold the property earlier this year, so there's new owners of that house that are technically now in charge of that property, and I don't know what they would be willing to do. I believe the cheapest option would be to fill it with gravel, fill them up to
Are
the
you
top.
open to having that conversation with them?
I haven't had any contact with them. I can certainly try, but I don't want to hold up the COC.
Yeah, we're not looking to hold it
For
up.
the
I'm just
previous-
saying, if you can just have that conversation, because
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
you said, if it's already got trash in it
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
God knows what it'll be like in 2 months. I just want it to look nice.
Yeah, no,
basically.
I can absolutely reach out to them. I have a kind of a middle person that I've never directly contacted them. It's through another person, but I can at least let them kind of know what your concerns were and see if they would be open to that, but I can't make any promises right now.
So stone strong blocks need to be filled with aggregate. That's their standard. That's any stone strong literature will tell you it has to be filled to the top with aggregate. So it shouldn't cost anyone money. The person who built the wall extremely poorly should come back out and fill the holes with aggregate like they're supposed to be.
Okay, well, I can talk to the contractor.
It should be the contractor,
Yeah.
and then escrow can
Yeah.
settle.
Yeah,
later.
it would have to be a conversation between the contractor and the applicant who, the original applicant of the NOI
We
that
gotta
hired
look
the
out for
contractor,
Revere, and
so.
tried to look out for the current
Yeah.
owner, but I mean, it's,
No, I know,
it's
yeah,
built,
yeah.
built how it's built. and
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We've definitely expressed our concerns in the construction of the wall. And I think that a verbal agreement between us and having this certificate of compliance off your plate would be a great thing for you. And I definitely feel comfortable, and I'm almost willing to wager, and I'll put 2-to-1 odds on it, that it was a contractor that put those Dunkin' Donut cups inside there.
I believe it was as well.
So reach out to the contractor, make sure that they have completed it to spec, what the blocks require. To his points, the filling of it, of aggregate all the way to the top.
Yep.
That minor detail, I will definitely call for a motion to approve the certificate of compliance.
I'll make a motion to approve the certificate of compliance.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Ryan. And I appreciate the multiple site visits, and I'll probably be following up to see about the aggregate filled in.
Yeah,
on that
I'll
as well.
definitely talk to the contractors and the previous applicants about that. And then I've also, I know you mentioned on the site visit, just real quick, about the elevation certificate. So I did have talked with the surveyor, they are working on that. It's probably a couple weeks out, but we can get that to you, so,
I'd appreciate that.
all right.
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Excellent. So next up, another request for a certificate of compliance. This is 55 Sagamore, DEP file number 0610839. This was the notice of intent after the fact, where the applicant did a paver patio, and we walked down the site. I believe Tom was there, maybe Brian and Joe. I'm not exactly sure who was there, but we did see that it is exactly how their drawings that they presented. And I think that this would be well within our purview to to approve this certificate of compliance. They're really not planning on doing any of the work, and everything that they have in that backyard is still pervious as well. So for the sake of time here, I would, if you have any, does anybody have any questions about this? No? Okay. Say it again? I'm sorry.
I took the liberty of going down there yesterday,
Okay.
just to refresh my memory, and it's fine down there. It's exactly what we,
Yeah, it's
expected.
exactly how the plans are laid out, which is great. And they also are, the site is completely stabilized. There's no portion of it where there is exposed dirt or anything of that nature. So I think that approving this certificate of compliance would be great for the owner. And I'd call for a motion to approve the certificate of compliance.
I'll make a motion to approve the certificate of compliance.
Second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right. Next up is a notice of intent, 660 Revere Beach Boulevard. This is a demolition and construction of a new home on the same footprint, on the same foundation. I don't have the DEP file number. It's 0610848. Did you say? Oh. Wait, is that certificate of compliance? Yes, you're good. So open up the, yes, so your legal notice, just before I open up the hearing, you had your legal notice was put in, notification of the abutters. Do you have that for us today? Okay. Okay, let's get this going. Yeah, you can put that right up here. Thank you very much. So I have, that's a Oh, I didn't even see that. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't catch that.
All right, sorry. Definitely. Amireza Zainalvand, native take, 31 Monroe Street, Lynn. I also have my supervisor here, Robert Marini. We're presenting notice of intent 660 Revere Beach Boulevard. For water notifications were given. We have a DEP file number 610848. As of yet, there are no comments. The site exists on a barrier beach resource and in an AE flood zones. And it's bounded by velocity zone in the east beach side and bay in the west side, which is 15 feet elevation. The client would like to remove the existing house, preserve the current foundation, and raise the additional apartment on the elevated piers, which are above the flood elevation. Here we have map from it. And there will be sediment control barrier to prevent sedimentation. And please let me know if you have any questions.
Yep.
So when we were walking down the site, the back of the foundation, the front of the house you said was 15 elevation. What was the back of the foundation? 6. Okay. Yeah, that's
6.5.
okay. Yeah, that was definitely something. And that drawing that you have with the curve that's coming down, that's the one there. Yeah, if you could point that out where the end of the foundation is, please. Where is that at? It's there. Okay. And then the addition, those pilings there, that's where you're going to have your apartment, correct? On those pilings?
It will be elevated on the pilings.
Okay. When we walked down the site, was it the building commission? I'm not really sure who asked to remove the drains. What is the plan for that? And what kind of excavation do you have to do for that?
They will be removed, both of them.
Okay. What's the plan for that? How are you going to be doing it? You're in a pretty low elevation, or just making sure everything's, do you have an idea of where the drainage system goes?
Rob Rainey, Native Tech. The drains will be removed, and 4-inch depth of water wash stone will be put down on the expanded footprint.
So
the now footprint of the apartment and the deck between, the owner wants to keep a gap between the existing house
and the new
and
apartment.
the new apartment that's now raised.
So I guess my question is the stormwater drains that you have, the two that you have in the back, are they connected to one another? Are they connected to another part of a stormwater management system? On the other side, is it just a hollow tube that goes down and has stone on the bottom? I'm just curious if you had any clarification about that. Is it just?
It's just like acting like a dry well, and there really isn't much possibility for infiltration because it's kind of spongy there. I mean, I don't think that there's the bay's wetland is about 4 feet lower into the west, but this is it's kind of spongy from the rainwater coming down the driveway and in that area. It's kind of a low area. It's a little basin. It's about a 6 or 7 inch deep basin there.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious if you had any, if you found that it was connected to something else, but if it's just tubes in the ground with a little bit of crushed stone, that's a simple removal. Okay. And then off the back of the house on those pilings as well, you're going to have a deck there, I can see, for off the back of the house, and that'll be for residents of the main house, or is that for the apartment? Is that, just curious?
The connection between two?
Yeah, so the deck that you're building in between the apartment and the main house, is that like a shared space, or?
This deck here
Yeah.
is the main building, and the apartment would exit here on the other side.
And that'll all be slatted so the water can go right through on the deck? Okay. All right. I think that's all the questions I have. Thank you for the elevation update. Any other questions for commissioners?
Just looking at the drawings of it, is that an ADU in the back? Is that what that is?
What are we talking about?
So is that, so it's like this, so that, are you filing that as an ADU?
It's been that way, it's been a two-family since she bought it about 4 months, 3 months.
If you wouldn't mind going up to the microphone when you get up to,
She bought it
Appreciate
about three months ago, and it's,
So it is currently a two-family?
yes.
Okay.
The apartment is a part of the current foundation, and it's at ground level in the back. So it's, the elevation of that floor is probably about 6 or so, and now they want to take the apartment away from the main foundation of the house and put it on pilings. And I think the way that, instead of it being an accessory dwelling unit, that it is connected by the porch, so it's all one piece,
So-
so.
I just have one thing to say for, as a home that, while I've lived there, two homes from me was put on pilings, and I was there when they pound these things into the ground. And my home, 2 houses away, shook like crazy. And there was no notifications, or I didn't know what was going on. I just want to make sure that when you're going to do this, if you would be able to let the homes around you know that this is going to happen, because it was shocking to my whole entire, I felt like I was in an earthquake.
So when we were on the site, I believe you said that it was going to be screwed into the ground?
Yeah, I ran a little configuration in the program of the footings, and there won't be pilings deep in the ground. There'll be like spread footings that are 2 by 2, and it works with the spacing of the posts, about 8 by 8 pressure-treated pine on with the posts flanged to a 2 by 2 10-inch depth concrete footing at each one, and so there won't be pilings driven.
Okay, I just had to ask, having lived through that, it was a nightmare, so I'm just thinking of the neighbors for this, but thank you for clarifying.
Wait, so your foundations aren't gonna even be below frost? Is that what you're
Right,
saying?
well, they're basically, it's basically like a mat foundation for each one.
Kind of.
You're not worried about frost heave, or?
It's basically a mat foundation, and it has a spread to it for that purpose. It's
Okay, I mean, it's not our purview, that'd be building, but interesting.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman. In the back right now, there's a small porch, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is, the foundation that you're talking about is not going to encompass that porch at all?
No, it won't be passing.
As a matter of fact, that porch where it exists now is more or less where the connection is between the front building and the rear building, the same area?
Yeah, as it stands, it has a small porch and a apartment below that is ground level. You can see the windows when you go into the backyard around it. But yeah, they have a small little, just a exit way off the back there.
And I noticed underneath is green. Is that AstroTurf, or is that just aesthetically put there
Yeah,
underneath the addition?
It will be sand and
Well, it exists as grass. That's grass there now. It's sodded, but it'll be water washed stone.
Okay. And then the driveway that is on the left side of the property when you are facing it, that's gonna stay as is, or you're gonna, I didn't see in the plans that you had any resurfacing or
No.
repair of that at all? That's all gonna stay as is?
it is, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. I want to get a fast one pulled on us again. Okay. So, so at this time, I'd like to make sure our commissioners don't have any more questions, first off, and open it up to the audience if they have any comments, questions, or concerns about this project. All right, seeing none, I'd like to call for a motion to close out the hearing.
Motion to close out the hearing.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent.
Thank you so much.
And so, moving forward,
Thank you very much.
You have everything, you have all your things in a row. It kind of looks like an accessory dwelling unit, but I get the porch in between kind of connects it. It really has that accessory dwelling unit. Yeah, it really does, but, as it is, the other thing that I would make sure is that all of the i's dotted and t's crossed on this one. I want to make sure that it doesn't affect anything there, but, and were you guys able to get, just one last thing, were you able to get to the site plan review with this yet?
No, I think, Monday, the owner decided to create this gap, even a little further, so.
Yeah, because the original plan, the original.
architect made these revisions,
Okay.
these revisions, here, like, this is the last night, but we'll try to, get to that.
Yeah, the holiday week, I didn't think you guys were going to get to it, but as it stands, as you have shown us today, we'll let site plan review take the rest of this one, but I'm going to call for a motion to approve this notice of intent as is. And can I get a second? Or,
I'll make a motion to approve
Motion,
this
I was
motion as is.
and can I get a second? And before we vote
Second.
all together, thank you for that. I'd like every commissioner to vote individually for this one. So, Brian, if you will, your vote.
I vote to approve.
Joe, your vote on this? Approve. Tom?
Yes.
Yes.
Bernardo?
Yes?
Amelia?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Yes. So, no, there is no question. I wanted to have an individual vote for this one, just to make sure everything is square. But thank you very much. I wish you the best of luck. It's not going to be easy, and I hope that you don't have to come back for an amended order because the foundation got broken. So, good luck with that. You're welcome. Oh, yeah, these are both. He didn't have a DEP file number. I don't have a sign sheet for this. Yeah, go ahead. So I don't have a sign sheet for that one yet. We'll address that in a moment. Last up, we have an enforcement. This was for 33 Maggie Road. This was for a construction of a fence and encroachment into resource areas without an order of conditions. Are the owners of the property here? No? Okay. So I had a chance to walk this down, and it was, as I just stated, an encroachment without an order of conditions. They were trying to construct a fence from their property line all the way through state property or city property, depending how you look at it, if it's the street or if it's the actual wetlands, and then that extended over to their neighbor across the street. Basically, they were just trying to encapsulate the whole thing and potentially put a gate up at the end of the street. Neighbor called out, and they were told to stop, cease and desist on what they were doing. And they're not here, so I really can't tell them what to do, so we're going to have to follow up with them about this. But basically, they need to fill up in the holes and make it as it was. I know they can't put the Phragmites back up or any of the other wetland grass, but they can at least fill in the holes and get rid of the construction materials in the area. And I'm not really sure exactly how to proceed with this yet because they're not here, but we'll have to follow up with them to make sure. No. Anyways, so that is that. I will definitely be following up with them for sure and make sure that they are adhering to their, they don't end up with an enforcement order on their property. So following up, we had some site visits, 660 Revere Beach Boulevard, 26 Curtis Road, 74 Dunn Road, and 102 Summer Street. We didn't have any communications, but at this time for open discussion, I know this has been a little late, but I'd like to definitely talk about how we can more effectively execute site visits moving forward. And I'd like to, I know we've had some thoughts about this, but I'd like to have a little bit more formal of a discussion about how we'd like to proceed. And I know that having an individual go and make a report, Tom, thank you for doing that. Brian, you've done it in the past, so have I. And I would just like to open this up to other commissioners if that would be okay, or be acceptable, with plenty of pictures and a description that would go with it. I think it would save us a little bit of time in scheduling. I know our weekends are precious, and I know some of us have the ability to go during the week. So I'd like to hear some thoughts from other commissioners about this.
So I'd say for what I do for a living, I usually work Saturdays and Sundays. So it's very tough for me on a Saturday where my job to take off, literally working, a big part of my business is on Saturdays.
Yes.
So I've made myself available when I can for Monday through Friday. I know owning my own business, I have the ability to navigate that on the days that's possible. So I'm happy to help, just like Tom was able to, save us from going on some visits by doing some things and documenting. I do think that if we can find a day that maybe works better for everybody, and I appreciate you having this conversation, because we'll go on site visits where sometimes it's just you and I, or, it's sometimes just you.
Just me.
And I feel that for all of us to go on these site visits, it helps to make more educated decisions on voting. So I do apologize for the times when I literally can't go because I'm, as the owner of a business and I'm running something on a Saturday, I can't go to that. But I feel that if we all together can maybe work towards maybe night times or mornings on a Monday through Friday that would work, or something, I think that would make sense.
I would be completely amenable to going after work. I mean, I have a prior obligation where I work that I can't. Usually for, the normal 9 to 5, I'm usually out by 4 p.m. Sometimes a little later depending, but I think that it would be prudent for us to kind of go after hours, or
6 p.m. or something like
maybe,
that, 6:30?
Yeah, maybe.
It's still light,
it's still light
depending
out,
on the time zone, the time of the year.
Depending on the time of year it is, it's definitely not light out, but great points. But I think that being able to schedule these things a little more fluidly, or having a little bit more flexibility in our scheduling, I would like to see as much of it as I possibly can. And I would definitely like to, if you were going to take that initiative, and I'm a visual person, so I like to see it. So pictures, a vivid description of what you saw. I don't need, Pulitzer Prize winning writing, but it's just something. And I think that would be something that we can discuss a little bit further, but if that works for others, doing the site visits that way, I think that would probably be better moving forward.
Would you be open to an SOP on this, where we're able to have it that there's a certain standard of when we go on a visit, we have our phones, so it's not like we have to take a separate, Canon with us and take a picture, where we take certain pictures of certain areas and then just have even bullet point description. Because there are sometimes people come in front of us, and I'll ask you guys if I wasn't able to attend. If I could see the visual evidence with bullet points, I think that would be able to make it so that myself, not speaking for all commissioners, can make more educated decisions based upon what you guys have said. Obviously, it comes with risk of, if we're not all able to attend, then we're a little biased.
Well, we could also have a standard list of questions that we are going to ask on there, so that we know what we're looking for, checking all the boxes, seeing what kind of site we have, what the resource areas are, and ask the appropriate questions according to the resource areas. So we could definitely work on an SOP moving forward, and have a little bit more of a concise record of what we've seen. So, knowing what we need to view, depending on the resource areas, would definitely make sense.
I'd love to work with you on an SOP template for site visits, so that every site visit we go on, we basically can have a clipboard with notes of, just basically a checklist of questions that we can ask that would pertain to every single place we go see, and then maybe one little part, because some places, obviously, like the guy who was here earlier today, we're encroaching on the neighbor, and there's a pool fill, there's stuff that we may not have asked, so anything else we're able to just put in there. I think having that template makes it that, it's helpful for everything. That would be my opinion if,
Like a simple roadmap
perfect, yes.
for that as well. All right, we can definitely discuss this a little bit more, and I thank you for having a little bit more of a formal discussion about this, because it's kind of been a little fractured. And as you said, some of the site visits, it's only one, and it's, or, whatever. But I think that having that ability to be a little more flexible in our scheduling would be ideal.
So I just have a question from a practical, how to schedule it. Are you guys gonna pick one day?
So I think
That's the day, or
so. I think
if I
this-
tell you a site's ready to be walked down, someone's gonna raise their hand and make the arrangements to go see that site?
Yep, that would kind of be the modus operandi with this. When we know there's a site visit available or it's ready to be looked at, we need folks to step up and make sure that he's not going crazy trying to schedule one day. You would take the liberty, basically what I'm getting at is you would take the liberty to schedule the site visit on your own time and report back. And I think that we're all adults, that we can definitely handle something of that nature. Myself included, if I want to go on a Saturday and see if we can have a site walk down with all of the sites that we need to review for the the upcoming meeting, I think that would make a lot of sense. But in the interim, I think it would definitely be incumbent on the commissioners, if they're going to do the site visit, to schedule and reach out to the applicant to schedule that visit.
I would just, I appreciate that, and John, I would just ask if the email is sent for all of us, if it can just have in that email, the email address of the applicant, the address, and their phone number and name, I think that's gonna speed up the process for
So all
everybody.
that information is in the NOI.
As long as that's attached, because
Right.
that's easy to see.
You've already gotten the NOI by that time.
Yep. So most of it you'll be able to see it. So.
You get all this information, and then I get the feeling no one's looking at it.
I just want to have it that there isn't, my goal, it just is same as Nick, is that as many people go to site visits, that there is this,
Yeah.
ability of people reaching out. I just want to simplify it so that if you get an email, it's boom, 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 it's right there, and we can just book it and do it. I'm just looking to make this so
So
that
you
we
guys
can-
are gonna have to be a little self-serving on your own part. You get the everyone gets copied on the same thing. It's there. You'll get an email saying this NOI is ready to walk down, and then you can contact whoever volunteers to go do it. I can re-forward the email. You have that, and then you're talking about SOPs. MAC has training. And MAC has resources of already checklists available on their website. So,
Yep. And that's another, to that point, I just want to make sure that, and I sent this out, I can't remember exactly when I sent it out, but the training that's coming up, for all those that haven't taken it, especially the intro stuff, it's definitely worth it. And I would highly recommend that anybody who hasn't taken it or needs a little bit of a refresher, it's great. You get to network, you meet all sorts of people and from all sorts of municipalities, from the really intricate, coastal stuff to the forestry and isolated wetland stuff. So I would definitely make sure to take a look at it, see if you can fit in your schedule. It's usually on the weekends so that folks can attend, but I know that weekends are precious, but I will be digging through and pulling out some of those checklists and see how it pertains and how we can make it less boilerplate and more revere, if that makes any sense. But at this time, I'd like to call for, go ahead. Yep.
there's no signature sheet for 660 Revere Beach Boulevard?
Yes.
DEP did not issue a file number.
Oh, Mike's. Yep.
So DEP did not issue a file number that was available today, so I wasn't able to print a signature sheet with the transaction number. They called Jim Greeley to get the number. It'll get updated tonight, but I didn't have a signature sheet. So I'll leave it with Linda, and over the next week, swing by and go
What
sign it.
about 102 or 55 Sagamore?
What's that?
What about 102 or 55 Sagamore? I don't think we signed those.
No, we
So
didn't.
102 should be there.
Yeah, 102's.
Did we skip one
And
then? 'Cause
55
The last one I signed was Curtis.
55 you guys already did.
So we've got 26 Curtis, 74 Dunn, 907 North Shore Road, and 23 Frank Ave, and that's it.
So it should be 23 Frank Ave.
So this is the high school, oh, sorry.
Should be 907 North
So
Shore.
the 102 Summer is a certificate of compliance on there? Okay, just
Yep.
making sure. And then,
55 was done last month,
here, this
ahead of
is-
time. So I have that one already.
yeah, it's the high school that I have here that,
The high school shouldn't be signed.
nope,
So there should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay,
5 over there. Excellent.
all right. And 660 I'll leave with Linda, and then over the next week, I apologize for that one, but.
No worries. Thank you for all the work you've done, John. Appreciate it. All right. I think we're good. So I'd like to call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, everyone.